realize this or not, but my wife and I were at Carmel Country Club for 15 years. And Bev was the head pro and I was the tennis director, and then became the athletic director when we built our fitness facility. And I had my own club in California for 31 years. We had 14 tennis courts, 4 swimming pools, and a 9,000 square foot gym. So I had kind of experience, but when we got to the point where we realized that we were going to retire, we began the interview process of interviewing candidates for a person who was going to take our place. And I can tell you that after interviewing at least 25 different individuals, and then seriously getting down to 4, that Todd was our unanimous choice. And I'm sure that all of you are aware of how fortunate you are to have him as your coach and your leader. Todd is an exceptional individual, and I'm just delighted to have him ask me. What I have done lately, mostly for the last 10 or 15 years, is just work with individuals rather than working with groups. So it's fun to have a whole group of you here. And if you get where you need a little standing and stretching, you're perfectly all right to do that. And we'll try to take a little standing break every now and then so that you can make sure that you don't go to sleep from the waist on down. And hopefully I can keep it where you won't go to sleep from the waist on up, too. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about mental toughness. And I kind of like to ask some questions of all of you as to what you think mental toughness is. If you could describe someone who you thought was mentally tough, whether it be on a tennis court or in any other kind of activity, what are the traits that you think a mentally tough individual has?
Focus.
Excuse me?
Focus. Focus.
Oh, focus. Focus and concentration. Right. Very much so. What else?
This is along the lines of focus, but not allowing outside distractions.
Okay. Okay. What else?
Getting through a tough situation and not having to push you down.
Yeah, being able to respond to taking a hit and recovering from it, which is a really big one. Anything else? One of the things about an individual who's mentally tough is giving them the inside focus and attention to be able to respond to a difficult situation as well as they would in a relaxed situation. In the tennis sense, it's like being able to play as well in a match that's important as compared to when you're playing in practice and it's not important. And that's one of the things that I think you'll all find really important for you to be able to create a situation. It's not a substitute for ability. But one of the great things you're going to learn about mental toughness is that it's a skill. And it's a skill that can be learned. But it's also a skill that you have to work at a little bit. And what I thought I would do today, different than maybe I would for a group class that I was going to have for 2 or 3 times over a period of 2 or 3 weeks. I'm going to try to work with you today as if you were an individual who had come to me from some other town, some other state, or an individual that I was working with either on the internet and occasionally on the phone or by Skype or whatever, and give you some specific tools that you can use to improve your toughness, to improve your skills as a mentally tough individual. Now, the great thing is that there's a tremendous carryover. It's not just in sports. Individuals who are mentally tough in sports are also mentally tough in all aspects of their lives. And I really try to stress that when I'm working with youngsters, is that this, and when I do that, I try to get across to the parents too, it's not just going to affect their sporting performance, it can affect all of their performances in every single thing that they do. So we talked a little bit about what we think mental toughness is and the description of a mentally tough individual. One of the things about toughness is learning to control your emotions. And because your emotions kind of rule what's going on, what your response is going to be. And learning to control your emotions is exceptionally important. What do you think is the number one emotion that keeps you from performing well in any situation?
Anger.
Okay, actually, that's pretty close to equal to what I consider number one.
Frustration.
It's a four-letter word.
Fear.
Fear. Fear. And there are so many fears, and particularly with kids, we go through this. Fear of losing. Fear of winning. Fear of embarrassment. Fear of rejection. Fear of loss of love. Fear of loss of control. Fear of what other people think. Fear of losing your self-esteem. So, learning how to control your emotions is an exceptionally important thing. Now, if I asked you, where do your emotions come from? What would you say? What are your emotions preceded by?
Experiences.
Excuse me?
Experiences.
Okay. Thoughts. Absolutely. You can't have, your emotions are a response to what you're thinking. So, one of the things that we have to learn as we progress is how to control your thoughts. Now there's a law. The law is the law of substitution. Anybody ever heard of the law of substitution? The law of substitution says that you can't have a positive thought and a negative thought in your mind at the same time. So if during a situation where the emotions get away from you and you have a negative thought that comes into your mind, then that's the time when you need to have some positive thing to replace it. And one of the things that we'll do as we progress today is to give you some specifics of things that will help you to have a handle on something that you can use specifically to replace any negative emotions. All right, what are the traits of really tough competitors? Number one, they're intensely motivated to achieve. Great competitors really want to try to be the best that they can be. And that's not necessarily being the best, but being the best that they can be. They're also positive but realistic. And they really work hard at maintaining that positive attitude. You know, positive attitude is really easy when things are going well. But when things are not going so well, that's when it's tough to be and stay positive, and that's when you really need it the most. So that takes a little practice. Great competitors are in control of their emotions. They're calm and relaxed under fire. Another thing about great competitors is that they are great actors. What's going on inside here, if their response is this, and they're down, or they're angry, or they're getting upset, they're giving the brain the wrong kinds of messages. And great actors, they may have all kinds of stuff going on inside. The heart rate's going fast, they feel like they got a lump in their throat, but the way they act helps to give their brain a message of what they want instead of what they don't want. They're great fighters because they never give up. They're mentally alert and focused, which was the very first thing that was mentioned today. They're tremendously determined. They're highly energetic. They're tremendously self-confident, and they take full responsibility for themselves. And where do you think self-confidence comes from? Excuse me? Experience. That's correct. One of the things that I want to try to teach you today is that under normal experience, a person feels more confident when they're doing well. If they're doing well, they feel more confident in what they're doing. But one of the things that's important is I'll talk a little bit about the difference between performance goals and result goals. If a person only focuses on result goals, you may not gain a lot of confidence because there are certain things, and I'll give you a handout that I have lists of things, particularly when you're on the tennis court, things that you can control and things that you can't control. And the great thing about performance goals is that if you follow your performance goals and you excel in what you're doing on performance goals, you can be successful even if you get your clock clean, so to speak, out on the tennis court. So it's important to remember that setting performance goals is really helpful in helping to develop your self-esteem. Now, this is the beginning of a little self-evaluation, and in a minute, I'm going to hand out a sheet for you that I want you, Todd, in case we have a lot of gals that don't have pockets, etc. I hope that we have something that you can mark with. Is there anybody without a pen or a pencil? Okay. So these statements are all in response to what I just said are the traits of good competitors, and they're really questions about yourself. Are you motivated? Do you maintain a positive attitude in all situations? Do you control your emotional response in all aspects of your life? Do you look and act relaxed and loose under pressure, being that actor? Do you give your best efforts regardless of the situation? Do you maintain a concentrated focus under pressure? Do you become challenged when the situation is tougher? Do you remain energetic and enthusiastic no matter what the situation? Does your self-image remain strong and confident regardless? And do you take responsibility for your actions? In order for you to give you some specific things that will help you and give you things that you could practice to become tougher, there are certain things that we follow to develop the right competitive attitude and concentration and focus, and how to attain what I call the correct mental set. And they are, 1, following rituals. Rituals help you to stay focused and balanced. Now, when during a match would be the times that would be the easiest to follow a ritual? Before your serve, or before the return. Whether you're the partner of the server, if you're playing doubles, or the partner of the receiver, or whatever, there are certain rituals that will help you to focus on what you want instead of focusing on what you don't want. And you know, if I said to you, I don't want you to think of a pink elephant with purple stripes riding a bicycle. Now, the way our mind works is that our mind creates pictures, and then we have that thought in our mind. So the simple fact that I say don't doesn't work. We don't register don't. So we have to think about, well, it's like the golfer who stands on the tee, and there's a lake over there, and the green is over there, and his first thought is, gosh, I hope I don't hit it in the lake. Well, that's like programming himself for what he doesn't want, instead of thinking about what you do want. As a server, bouncing at a certain time, thinking about it, playing with your strings, whatever it is, having rituals that you follow. Having relaxation techniques. Now, there are a variety of different relaxation techniques. We're going to use one today. I'm going to do a guided visualization with you later, after you have established the things that you want to work with. I'm going to give you a list of various affirmations, and I'll talk to you about affirmations, which you can pick out. We're going to work on key words, which I'm going to have you pick out 2 key words, one physical and one mental, psychological, that you feel like you're at your very best. This is the way you feel when you're at your very best. And then we'll put all of those together with a guided visualization that we're going to implant those in your subconscious mind so that you'll have some tools to work with. Visualization is extremely important. Being able to visualize what you want. And lastly, self-talk. Self-talk is something that happens